Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Jim and Sam Town Square. In this episode, we're recapping week 3 of June 2023. I'm Scott King. Jim and Sam fans know me from the Forbes articles, and I'm joined again by multi-Emmy Award-winning television producer Chris Cangilla. Chris, we missed you a ton last week, but you still contributed big time to the podcast. You sent us a video from Nash Vegas. You put the show together there. Thanks so much for doing that, man. But how was it? I know it was a really meaningful trip for you and the family.
Yeah, thanks, man. And thanks for doing the heavy lifting at home. That's for sure. We went out there for my daughter's 21st birthday. My son from New York and his girlfriend met us there. My wife, my old middle child son, and we had a great time. Did a little golfing. And went on the listening to music and checking out the food. And I got to tell you, just my little insight's a little crowded for me. It's like how Vegas has gotten over the last couple of years. And then the really good bands seem to play in the smaller clubs. That's my take. The other bands in these huge nightclubs and places where all the 7 levels and all that kind of stuff, I didn't think they're as good. So yeah, it was a great time. But if you get an opportunity, it's worth the trip. Yeah.
It's a fun place. Looked like you had a blast. And here at the top of the show, I got to say, it was, being in publicity, I thought it was so cool. Not only the concept for the new podcast you and your brother are doing, but the fact that it's about your dad and his involvement in World War II. And you guys released it on Father's Day, the first episode. It was just so clever, so well done. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's our World War II dad. And so, my brother and I had this idea of putting this together. He just got back from seeing a lot of the places that my dad went to during World War II. He was 18, 19, so a young man going over there. I can't imagine that. And so he retraced his steps. We're talking about it, and as a little bit of a treat for us and our town square friends and listeners and viewers here, in our next episode that we're dropping on Sunday, we have a special guest. We're having our mom.
Wow.
Our World War II mom. Mom's 91. We did an interview with her. My brother and I did a couple of days ago that we'll be putting together in the podcast with some other stuff. So if you get the opportunity to take a listen, I'd appreciate it. And Scott, thank you as always. You're such a good friend in posting about it. So yeah, if anybody's interested in it, it's a fun little thing that we're doing, and it's educational. I'm learning a lot too. So yeah, thanks,
you're the best. I think it's such a great idea. Honestly, so cool you interviewed your mom too. I mean, that's great, man. You got to be so glad you did that. Something that's not great. And yeah. It's kind of a real bummer, but I mean, look, it was such a big topic on Jim and Sam all week, and in the news that we have to talk about is the Titanic submarine, the submarine that went down to check out the Titanic, and seems today, as we record this, that it was imploded. So I mean, you were listening, and I'm sure you read about it too. So why don't you tell the folks at home, like, who was the type of people that were on that submarine, and what may have happened, and what Jim and Sam had to say?
Yeah, we didn't have a Monday episode from the guys. It was a holiday week, so it was shortened by that 1 week. But yeah, it did. The sub talk did take up most of the week. I think every day we're talking about it with the guys. And, it's I believe it was 5 passengers. They're pretty wealthy. Not only the owner of the actual submarine, or submersible as they call it, was there and was piloting that, but a billionaire from Pakistan, his son, and a couple other people. And it's a sad story. It really is. You never want to hear these things, but the guys were talking about, what if, of course, Jimmy gets panicky, what if, how are they going to go to the bathroom? How is this happening? And, and they're worried about, running out of oxygen and that kind of stuff. And I guess, and when it comes to the end of the story, they believe that it imploded a couple hours on descent and was a catastrophe and just, catastrophic loss. So, yeah, not a great ending, but it did make for some fun conversations with Jim and Sam and the boys in the studio. I remember one thing they were talking about too were whales, and if the whales had anything to do with them knocking them off course. And Travis took a little bit grief on that because Troy said they're off. Maybe whales don't go that far off of the coast. They usually stay around there, and then Travis was looking up. So there's a lot of stuff going on about the submersibles. What do you remember from it?
Absolutely. No, they're so informative about it too. They really did have all the details and everything. I think that when you get a story like this, I think you really get a close look at Jim's empathy. Like I think it was Tuesday, the first time they brought it up, he was saying he couldn't sleep the night before because he just thinking about like these poor people down there. And I'm laughing because he's thinking about like, you can hear him talking about all the, kind of like junk science he was reading about on what could have happened, if what could rescue them, what they could do. And, the answer is nothing, obviously. So he's just sitting there, like not sleeping, thinking about these people and like if they can be rescued.
Now, let me ask you this. Is it empathy? I mean, Jim's a great guy. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. Is it empathy, or is it just Jim putting himself in this situation and just drawing this panic and this night sweat about that? He was thinking about ways, couldn't they put something in there that shoots up and reaches the surface,
like a fish hook, that goes straight up,
like a bobber,
Right,
and the thing is that I don't think anybody really brought it up, but they use the balloons, that inflate as usually for lifting that kind of stuff. I like his way of thinking because it's that kind of out of the box thinking that actually does solve these problems. It reminds me of when the truck goes under the underpass, which Sam would love, and they get stuck there and they couldn't get it out, and it took a kid going, "Why don't you let the air out of the tires?" And then that lowers the truck and they can get out. So it takes a childlike, thought process that Jim sometimes has to solve those problems. But, he got a lot of grief too. A lot of callers calling him, Ocean Explorer Jimmy. That's him. I love
that name. I love that new Jimmy nickname. And I think a lot of his sleepless nights, eventually one of them will lead to a group of people being saved. I think something is going to come of it.
He has it in him, for sure. There.
And of course, Jimmy, in addition to kind of putting himself in that situation, of course, right away, he was wondering about the bathroom. And I think we'll have more on that later. Somebody said something that was quite amazing. That may or may not be my line of the week with that break. So we got Ocean Explorer Jimmy. And, this one, at first it seemed I was really enjoying it. They broke it down and we were watching it unfold, on Twitter or just in current event news. But the stepson of one of the billionaires, we're watching this guy. He is very vocal on social media, letting everyone know he's doing. He goes to Blink-182 concert after his stepdad's reported missing. He replies to an OnlyFans model. She was saying kind of to all her fans and to the Twitterverse, do you want me to sit on you? And he expressed, yes, I do want that.
He's grieving. It's his way of grieving, right?
Yeah, right. People grieve in different ways, Chris.
That's right.
We know that, but I just think that was it seems so funny at first the way he's handling, and then you get into maybe is there some kind of mental health thing or mental condition thing?
Did we ever get a definitive answer on his age? Because initially they thought he was 19, then they thought he was 37.
I thought
they couldn't really get him in the right age.
I don't know.
It was weird.
Maybe somebody can comment. I think maybe somebody might have landed on like early 20s, but then we find out he was arrested for stalking and he does have some condition and someone bit his thumb in jail when he went to jail for stalking.
It was a story that kept on giving to us.
It got weirder and sadder, I thought.
Yeah, a little bit of both. Yeah, and then we found out, I think it was today they're talking about it, that actually Jim Cameron, went down there multiple times when he was doing the Titanic movie and even afterwards. And he was down there, and which I never knew, when 9/11, the attack on the United States happened. He was down at Titanic, and they had some good insight on like, okay, so what happens when he surfaces? All these guys are like, hey, we got to get going. Something's major happening in the world right now.
It's insane. You're doing one once in a lifetime thing, kind of below the surface down there, which is crazy as it is, kind of in a good way, especially if you're able to make it back up and then you get up and one of the worst things ever. So an insane day for him, I'm sure. And another thing that's not insane, but I think is endearing. I want to get your take on this. We've been tracking along with intern Cooper, and there's been some Cooper follies this week, and I think it helps him kind of slide right in as a Jim and Sam regular, and we know the legendary interns they've had. Someone who actually came up this week too that we'll get to, but him not remembering the drummer that spoke at his school and not knowing who Dave Grohl was when they showed him the picture, and then he brought in some audio that he thought was authentic today, Chris, and it was not.
No, let's start with the music part of it because it was
your music guy. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean he goes, I think the drummer from Nirvana came to my school.
Right.
And everybody's like, Dave Grohl, the leader of the Foo Fighters? He didn't know who that was. He didn't. He's. I think if he wasn't enjoyable to those guys, they wouldn't go to him as much and have a comment. But they seem Coop. They always want to know what Coop has to say. So I think it was great, and it just reminds me of I have children about the same age. I have a 23-year-old and a 21-year-old. We kind of went over that. And on our way down to Nashville, we play a game, and we were playing. You have on your radio, we have SiriusXM, of course, right? And you have all the music stations laid out, and there's probably about 8 stations you can switch between in the 2 banks, and you turn off your dashboard view, where it has all those stations, and you have to guess the artist. You have to be the first one to guess the artist. First one to 10 wins, and I do pretty well. My 23-year-old son is very good at it. My wife always guesses at the end of a song, and it doesn't give us enough time to either check if she's right or wrong. And then we say, "Oh, it's too late. You didn't get it in there." And then she just loses it and didn't want to play anymore. No, she gets all frustrated. And my daughter, because we broke up the stations between, current top 40 stations, like our friend Biggins is on. And then also, the 70s on 7 stuff that I'll know. But yeah, it was exactly. It was one of those things that is a fun game, and I'm glad that my kids know a little bit more about music than Coop. But yeah, I think Cooper really, really endeared himself with his comment about, the sub and what happened in there. You want to share that?
Yes. So I didn't know that. That's like the beacon of, that's like a treasure. I was trying to push your way. You're gonna give it to me. I'll take it. He brought it a clip that his friend sent to him. We learned more about Cooper actually I think on Thursday's show, that he goes to was it Manhattan University or Manhattan College?
I think it's Manhattan University.
I think you're right. And so anyways, friend sent him audio, and he chose to bring it to the guys, and he was informed that the audio was the some type of
they heard something.
Signal.
Yeah, they heard something.
They heard something from the submarine. So he thought this was breaking news, bring to the show like a good intern would to help the show truck along. And it was just a man yelling, "Help me,
help me, help me, help me." That's what they heard.
Exactly like that. I honestly, Chris, as great as that was, I think the guy who recorded it was actually closer to the microphone. It was like crystal clear.
Help me. Yeah,
exactly. It was like crystal clear.
Right in the mic.
Jim couldn't get over that aspect. So definitely a folly, but I mean, what great Jim and Sam interns haven't had a million follies that are classic.
Yeah, we haven't had that kind of stuff where we haven't had that in a while where we're talking about that. And I think he got duped by his friends, and he was gullible enough to play it on the radio show. So they're having a great time with it. And it was fun because what happens next? Well, we get a little nod from the boys that they said, they said, people are going to be talking about that. I bet the guys at the town square are really bringing it up. And of course, here we are bringing it up.
Talking about
but yeah, I think it makes him endearing. I think there's a lot of stuff that we can do with Cooper, and he brings a youthful part to the show that we haven't had in a while. I mean, it's great. Soraya was great. A lot of the other interns we've had over the years, but Soraya is great because she's kind of quirky. He's just a kid. He's just a young guy giving young guys perspective.
You're right. We're right about perspective. That's what's, I think, key with him and his involvement with the show. They keep going to him for it. Another thing that I think is going to help his longevity, like maybe they can stretch out the internship, maybe somehow he can get hired later, is that he can laugh at himself.
Yeah.
No offense to a certain somebody, but he's not putting a hoodie up saying I'm cold.
Right.
And I love Mr. Loaf. That's not too much of a knock. I thought he was great. So much good radio and a nice kid. But he can laugh at himself and he can kind of roll with things. So I'm
just waiting for that moment when Troy really gets him to be corrupted, right?
Yes,
because Troy keeps on trying to corrupt him to look at certain girls, and there's going to be a point when I think young Cooper's going to break and get as corrupt as Troy.
Yes, and someone who we know is corrupt. We've been seeing them slip more and more upstairs, and I'm getting pretty concerned. I think maybe his friends might be, and maybe the other Jim and Sam listeners, is Rich Voss. It's like one Facebook scam after another. First, he was sharing to try to win a car, and everyone under 100 knows you shouldn't do that, and that's what that is. And this new one was like a blatant scam. Do you remember like the ins and outs of this one, the details?
It wasn't even that they were looking for money. I just remember it being more of one of those things where, forward this on to 10 friends and you'll have luck.
Yes.
It was like that. And he got into it and he was doing it, but he did have a little bit of a saving grace because in the comments he said, I got taken. This was a scam. I'm so stupid, blah, blah, blah. So at least he found the error of his way and he didn't delete the first comment. He stuck with it. And so, yeah, Voss gets taken. Hopefully not financially, but I'm telling you, we have to, invoke some way of writing him and asking him for some cash because he might be in the availability.
If Bonnie wasn't just killing it and working all the time, she should be right there with. I mean, she's younger. She should be like, no, you don't do that.
Yeah,
obviously,
she's definitely smarter.
Yes, like someone's going to hack you. And Jim thought he was hacked because this one looks so strange on his Facebook feed. So from Voss, now we go to someone who probably wouldn't fall for this. But they are up to stuff that we never know what they're going to be doing, and that's Soraya. Soraya, we learned, helped Jim record some video for him on the Fully Loaded tour. Jim did a date with Bert Kreischer, which is awesome.
A lot of great people on that bill.
Yeah,
Dan Soder.
Yeah, great acts, and the crowds are over like 10,000 people. But fill us in on what Soraya had a great idea. This is how probably why Jim wants to work with her. She knows Jim. What was one of the bits she wanted to record?
Yeah, Jim is trying to be a great dieter and really sticking to his guns, but he becomes fat piggy boy. And Bert isn't shy from having great food around him. I just look at him. He's a lovely man, likes to partake in a lot of different things, and food is definitely one of them. So Jim said, yeah, I have to eat like that. So Soraya said, let's videotape all the things you put in your mouth during the day. And I just can't wait to see all these videos she's done. I hope they're putting together a long documentary thing because we haven't seen any of that stuff from Cleveland. We haven't seen any of the stuff from this. And, she was in the studio, and once again, it's a surprise. He's like, come on, move your chair up there, and talk to us. So she's in there doing work, and it's great. I mean, she's wonderful. And we found out she's into some new things. You want to share what she's into now?
This one, you're always surprised by what she's up to and what she does and is into, like bodybuilding. Like, who would have thought? She never strike me as someone's gonna be into bodybuilding. And also, like she said, it's because she started to get muscles from carrying all the camera equipment. I've carried a bunch of equipment and camera equipment. I've never had those.
I was a news shooter. I shot for news. Those 40-pound cameras on the side of with the Anton Bauer batteries, big ones. Yeah, I did that for many years, and I maybe lopsided from the weight on that, but I didn't gain any extra muscle. But who knows? I mean, I love that she tries anything. She'll be involved or try something new, and she's not afraid of that, and that's a great quality to have. I do believe she might be done dating though, right?
She said she's out of the dating game. And real quick, I want to say Sam did verify the guns that she is getting cut.
Oh, I didn't even. I missed that part of it. I'm sorry.
Like, I noticed. Like,
there you go.
She even revealed it. He's like, I see something. So it's kind of interesting there. But yeah, from the bodybuilding, we go to we heard the amazing dating story before. We broke it down, of course, but she said she's out of the game. I like this though, because she said she's going to let it happen organically, and
it will. She's a pretty girl. She's got a great personality. She's around a lot of cool people when she's working with Jim. Plus, Jim's going to protect her, so I think it'll happen organically, and she'll meet somebody that appreciates her for who she is. Right?
I agree, and she has cool recap podcasts talking about her, so she should be fine. Speaking of cool, we go to Hot Dog and D-Bag's relationship. I mean, this is
cool. Is that cool?
Maybe a little ironic cool.
There you go.
But as Travis would probably agree with, we've been like seeing this. We've been hearing about this relationship. I feel like the last couple of months, couple seconds here, couple seconds there, and like all of a sudden we're hearing that D-Bag is texting Hot Dog. Bringing his wife into, I guess he just got married. Congrats, D-Bag just got married, and saying that they're disappointed that they didn't receive a gift from Hot Dog. And everyone knows that you have a year. I do agree. Like, it is weird though when people just don't have it ready. Like your thing is like, I mean, I guess it's been around for a while.
It's weird, but didn't he have some weird for the bachelor party? Didn't he have some weird thing with Hot Dog going down there, and he had it all mapped out that their bachelor party. He's had some weird.
There was something weird. Totally.
I can't remember what that is. So maybe D-Bag has a lot of, idiosyncrasies. Maybe he's like a Godzilla bride where you have to do it this way or it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
But the weird thing about that whole story is that I think Jim said, I saw Hot Dog at the cellar. It's like, what was he doing in the cellar? And I think they hit it on the head where Hot Dog wants to have Jim come up to him and say, Hot Dog, and that's Jim Norton, and impress people. So maybe that's what it's about.
But I think he was with D-Bag at the cellar.
Yeah, at the cellar. I think that's what they.
Yeah. So
or at least they they think that's what happened.
Yeah, it seemed like everyone kind of agreed. But the thing about that 1 year thing with the wedding gift is, even if you agree with that, for a man to text like, I'm disappointed, like after
I can't remember what I got for my wedding.
Yes, it doesn't happen. So
I got a beautiful wife. That's about all I got out of that wedding.
That's not too shabby, huh?
Yeah, I'll take it.
You walked away a winner.
There you go.
So that, and I will say, we've heard Troy talk about Pennsylvania in our show, and we hear him talk about it. He's by Allentown is where he's from, right?
Yeah, right.
But we're hearing more and more like Pittsburgh callers, and there was a lot this last week. That accent, it's hard to duplicate, but when you hear it, you're like, oh.
Yeah, they had a lot of fun, and I think either the same guy called in or someone knew that they had issues with Pittsburgh accents. So yeah, they're giving him grief about that, and I can't remember exactly how it is, but I will tell you, my folks are from Pittsburgh, and I remember my dad when he would tell us to close that glass object that's behind me there.
Yeah,
close the window, not the window, the window. We're like, what's a window? He would say window.
Or so that's a good example of what is wrong with the accent.
Or for W, he'd say W. So who knows?
Who knows? I don't know how you get it. I just know that I forgot her name, but the CNN White House reporter has that accent, and you're wondering how the White House reporter on CNN has it.
I have one more thing. If they're gonna say like, you guys are gonna go do this, or are you guys gonna do that? Yeah. It's yuns. Yuns going to the store. Yuns.
Wow.
Which is weird. Wow. Yuns. Yuns means you guys or y'all or whatever. Yuns. But it's weird. But we had another great caller, and it didn't go as far as I thought it was going to go, but my love for Jan Terry. So when it started, I was all in. This guy called and said, hey, my wife or my fiance put me in charge of doing the music for our first dance at our wedding reception, and I want to do it to a Jan Terry tune. What do you guys have? And they were going through Jan Terry tunes and what they should do, and they figured out. And it was just a small little bit.
Yes.
Until about half an hour later, and his wife called in and said, did my husband call in here and ask to do? And Jim and Sam like, I don't remember anybody calling in with that, ma'am. I'm sorry. I think you're wrong. So maybe we'll get a report back on that.
Yes, I think so. I think we might hear from them again. That's what Jim would call good-natured ribbing. It was good nature. She knew she was playing along.
Jocularity, right? Jocularity.
But any way we could hear and talk about Jan Terry and her impressive catalog.
I'm in.
An expert like you would agree that's phenomenal. Jim's doing up to something good on social media, up to some new tricks, and you chose to dive in and do it yourself. I have to take a look at that. But he's doing an old man filter now, and he's doing videos where he really looks like he's like 80.
Yeah, and I think he's having his own glasses on there too.
Yeah.
Excuse me. But yeah, he did a promotion for his gigs as an old man with this filter on that he got from Snapchat, I think. And it looks like Jimmy, maybe, and Sam even alluded to, is like, how many years from now do you think that actually will look like you? I would say it's Jimmy in about 20 years. The mid 70s to the early 80s, maybe Jimmy talking about that. And he, of course, affected his voice a little bit, kind of a little Edgar in there, promoting.
Well, that's what he should use it for. You're right.
Yeah.
Great call. Yeah.
He was promoting his gigs on there. So I'm like, I got to see what this filter looks like. And I did it, and I wish I didn't. I'm the same age as Jim, and it looked like I was 75, and it's not much different, and it's a lot more grayer hair, less of it, and a lot more saggy skin. I was like, okay, that was not a good idea. Hilarious. So I went to there's a couple of really good looking filters. So I went to what's the one they do for Sam and Jim? Is that,
I think there's a Handsome Jim one. It's
Handsome Jim and Handsome Sam.
Jim. Yeah.
So I had a Handsome Chris filter. I'm like, I'm just going to stick with this one.
And I got to give a shout out to Jim and Sam Dink memes, maybe
on dark memes, yeah, or something like that.
No, I should know. It's on Insta. They always help us promote the show and say kind words. So big shout out to them.
Let's just take a second to thank the people that actually comment on there. I love reading the comments, good and bad. Yeah. We actually got one on Spotify, which is the first little one today, and I forgot to tell it to you. So here it is for the first time. But someone said that Jim, on the Verzi, is it Paul Verzi? Is that the guy's name? On his show, Jim debuted a character called, I think it was Uncle Dom, maybe?
Ooh.
So let us know. Let's see some research on that, and we'll do our own research on that. But there could be another character that we don't know about. We heard about Ramesh last week, which was I wish we were here together to share Ramesh. We had to do it remotely when I was in Nashville, but Ramesh was great.
And our research was not utilized properly on Jim and Sam. We did not hear about our discoveries of Ramesh and who he is. And if you're listening now and you want to hear it, go back to last episode.
Yeah,
I did some research. We got to the bottom of Ramesh, but we got to get to the bottom of this show and our rundown list here. And a guest light week with the short week, but man, Rob Schneider he's like coming up to be one of the well-known guests that's just great on the show and gets the show. He's such a good fit, and his compliments to Jim and Sam seem very authentic, that he loves talking to them. Joked about how he made news last time, and people were kind of putting out of context and giving him grief. And that was, of course, when he was talking about how Bill Murray didn't like Chris Farley when I think Bill Murray was hosting SNL. So a great guest, and
he's a little more right leaning, a little more vax thing, and so not really believing the vax and that kind of stuff, and maybe believes in it. Just maybe the restrictions were a little tough on that.
I think that's his main point.
Yeah. So he has a different perspective. You don't hear from a lot of different guys. So I mean, I like that he's stood strong in his convictions. And he's out there gigging again. He's always sharp on Saturday Night Live and real honest. So yeah, he was a good guest. And then who else did we have?
Christina Hutchinson was the other guest, a comic who's pretty similar to Jim in some regards, right?
You noticed that too. Yeah, I think she is. I said this before on other people, but she actually is the female Jim Norton. Let's just say it: the perversion, the dirty behavior at times, but also very funny. She believes a lot in and this is a departure from Jim. She believes a lot in the mediums, right? In how those people can help you find, and talk to people that you've lost or whatever. And so she went on with that a lot. It's funny too, because I don't believe in that stuff, and I want to get your perspective a little bit. Except I did get stuck watching, goes back maybe 20, 25 years ago, that John Edward guy they talked about.
Oh my God.
And it was a TV show, and it was well produced, and I probably just got sucked into it. But I'm like, that would be cool if it was real, right? It was kind of neat. Have you ever had any thoughts on the medium or anything?
I mean, maybe when I was a kid, like it's fun to, just like the UFO talk, right? It's fun to like kind of what if, but I mean, so many people have been exposed for being frauds for that. I feel like that's not even like a fun one anymore. It's not like ghosts or aliens when you can kind of like, listen to stories or think about what's out there. It's people have been proven frauds.
Sam had a great thought, and I thought about it myself, and I want your opinion. They're talking about UFOs and aliens and ghosts. He goes, what would you want to be real? Would you want aliens or ghosts to be real? You have to pick one that you want to be real. What would it be? And I'll tell you, I think I would take ghosts, because I don't think ghosts want to hurt us as much as maybe aliens do and dominate us. And so if ghosts were real, I don't think there's a huge threat to us, them taking over our world. They just scare the crap out of us. What's your thought?
I need a lot spelled out for me in this equation. I need to know if there's spooky ghosts, murderous ghosts, friendly ghosts, or just kind of there's people who are still kind of part of them still kind of here. The aliens, I want to know if they want to help us, if they want to wear us like human trench coats. I need to know like who's friendly and who's not. But maybe ghosts, maybe if they're chill or cool, you still got your pals around and your family. That's not terrible. If you don't want to go, you don't gotta go.
Yeah, so great guests in both those guys. You have
Who's your favorite?
I'll go first. I like Rob a lot, but I really like Christina. I think she was my favorite. She brought a lot of different topics to the show. They talked about a lot of great things, and it's always fun to talk to a female Jim Norton. So that was good.
There's not a lot of them out there. For me, look, Rob was in my SNL class when I was a kid, and just like watched it religiously, and was the biggest Adam Sandler fan. And so not just being a member of his crew, but all the sketches those guys were in the early 90s on SNL. I just thought they were legendary. And I don't think we all know his politics if you have seen him on Twitter or see him catch heat in the news, but he doesn't he's not on the show to do that. He doesn't do that on the show. Like, you get a lot of cool stories about comedy and his career. I think he's very respectful of Jim too. I always like when famous comics get that Jim's, he's a legend too.
Absolutely. And of course, Rob, has this incredible daughter who was, a great, singer and performer and musician, and he doesn't bring her up all the time, right? So you appreciate somebody that, I mean, she has risen to a high level that he could bring her up all the time. That's my daughter. That's my daughter. He doesn't do it like that. He's really proud. So he's Adam Sandler's friend,
Right.
And that's why Adam put him in all those movies and stuff. So I just like those kind of friendships. I think that's got to be a good guy. So I can respect you for having guest the week being Rob.
He was mine for sure. I don't think he pushes politics. Super funny and interesting. Oh, he's also really cool to Sam. I think he always kind of compliments Sam.
Yeah, and that's a point that I like too. Is that a lot of these comedians will come in, and I'm sorry, I'm kind of hoarse right now.
Could not tell.
Yeah,
that's why I drink too much water.
I think I was drinking too much coffee, so stand by here. But Sam will doesn't get always that credit that we wish he did when the comedians come in, except for the ones that I really like. They really appreciate what Sam does on the show. Sam is also pretty damn funny, and he gets those lines in there. So like you, I respect a guest more when they like what Sam does, for sure.
Yeah, we love the show. We like to know that they're catching on to the things we like. Speaking of the things we like, we love our finishing segment, as always, with Line of the Week. I think we got the same one this week.
Is that right? All right.
I think we might. Let's
why don't you go ahead and go?
I teased mine at the beginning. You want me to go or you want to go?
Sure.
All right. So back to the submarine.
Yeah.
Travis was looking at it might have been Wednesday or Thursday. Travis was looking at images of the submarine. We know it's very small. We know there are 5 people in it, I believe.
Yeah, that's right.
And so just kind of trying to get a grasp on it. And Travis looked at what was in there. And of course, to let Jim know, Travis said, "There's the toilet." To which Jim responded to let the listener know he's looking in the mirror as in Travis is calling himself a toilet.
You know what? This is our first. We've done 11, 13 episodes if you count the Troy ones.
Yeah.
We've never really picked the same one. Absolutely, word for word, the same one. Ding, ding, ding. We're a match. Looking at the toilet. You're looking at a mirror, and just those kind of, and that was boom. This little boom punch. I love it, and it was great. So it was a great week. So what's up for us next week?
Oh yes, big stuff going on here. Change up the show again, and then we'll probably pretty much be back to normal. But we're going to do a reversal of what happened with you, and we didn't get together and plan this. But I'm going to be on a trip with my family, this time at Travis Teff's favorite place in the universe, Disney World. So we're really looking forward to that. I actually got some tips from Mr. Teft
nice.
that I'm going to utilize. So I'm going to try to do what you do. I'm going to try to send a video, say hey to Jim and Sam fans, to yourself, Chris, and show you guys maybe what we're doing one day at Disney. Give you a little
I know your hands are going to be full with the little ones and doing the family thing. But we'd love for you to be able to check in, show us what you're experiencing and how's that going, and it'll be fun. And then I got to do your part, which was the heavy lifting and taking all of our listeners. I think
editing is, especially the way you do it. But I know I appreciate you doing the show, and it'll be interesting to see what you think. We can both just kind of talk about the show. That's why we do this. But it's interesting to do it yourself.
I do like being able to bounce ideas off you, and you won't be there, so I'll just pretend that you are and talk to myself. But it was a good week. It's great to be back with you again, and it's great to have all our fans and all our friends join us here in what we call the Town Square.
Thanks for watching and listening to the Jim and Sam Town Square. Please remember to like and subscribe and turn on that notification bell, not dog bell, so you don't miss an episode.
And if you're just listening to the podcast, please leave us a 5-star review. We really appreciate it.